I'm going to show you how to take your map making from this to this to this with Inkarnate. The full guide is linked below, and it not only has the tutorial, but also the exact filters, colors, shadows, rivers, ground textures, mountains, trees, and text settings that I use. I've been doing graphic design for years, so I went through every single setting and asset in Inkarnate for you. And the full guide shows you only the very best ones. Let's get started. First, from a blank canvas, hide all layers. Then, enable filters by clicking Show Filters and enter the settings for color, clarity, and texture as listed in the guide linked below. Click Show Background. With the brush tool, fill the background with this color. Click Show Foreground. Using the exact settings shown in the guide linked below, set your mask tool settings: shape, roughness, smoothing, mask effects, stroke color, opacity, shadow, coast ripples. Now draw some land masses. They don't have to be perfect yet. Using a smaller brush, chop up the edges, flow water inward through inlets and around peninsulas, and finally dot the coasts and waters with outcroppings and islands. Using the brush tool, add textures to your land masses with colors and textures that coordinate to the biomes of each area. The best textures for each terrain type are listed in the section titled Recommended Textures. Where two textures meet, blend them together by setting one of the textures to opacity 0.35. Now add stamps for mountains, hills, rocks, trees, cities, and any other visual features. The recommended stamp section has the exact assets and the modifications that I use for each. For example, the stamp called Green Mountains Large is actually super versatile. You can tweak the hue and the brightness to get it to match any biome. Let's add rivers. Switch back to the mask tool, put it in subtract mode, and cut rivers through your land masses. They will likely flow upland to lowland, from mountains to coasts. There are a ton of resources out there for understanding how to make geographically accurate rivers, but for my purposes, this is a magical setting, so I'm not too concerned with realism. Plus, Earth has a ton of unlikely rivers itself. In the rivers section of the full guide, I have the exact settings I use for 5 sizes of rivers, from broadest to narrowest. Okay, this is the secret sauce: shading and shadows. This part is easy and makes any boring map look professionally made. So first, decide which direction your light's going to come from. I chose top left. Then get the stamp called Light, and you'll make a gold version and a black version. The exact hue and opacity settings are in the guide below. You'll clone these two stamps and use them to create an illuminated half and a shadow half of all of your elevated features: mountains, dunes, hills. I'm putting the gold stamp on the northwest side of the features and the black stamp on the southeast side of the features. You'll dot them along the curve of your elevations, and when you're done, your lights and shadows layer might look like this, and your map will go from this to this. Almost done. Time for clouds. I add in cloud stamps for atmosphere and texture whenever appropriate. Magical or dreamy places, swampy or steamy places, storms, industrial places, fog, mountains. You really can't go wrong here. Let's finish up by adding a border. I use an opaque cloud stamp and replicate it around the edges. And finally, labels. In the recommended labels section, you can find the exact fonts and settings I use: countries, cities, landmarks, and terrain. And that's it. If this was helpful, check out the rest of the resources for world builders in my coffee shop, and don't forget to subscribe. See you next time.